Katie's trying to convince me to go in the hot tub.
I don't understand
when
why
it's
you wouldn't
lightning
go.
and thunder probably out. You want to get me shocked?
Yes. No, it's not even thunder or lightning or raining right now. I have a hot tub, and then when you get too hot, you jump into the pool. Are you insane? Why does that not sound appealing? Although I don't even think I have a bathing suit.
Can I give a shout out to McDonald's? And this is not sponsored. I tried their fruit smoothie today, and they're $2 small. A small one is $2 during the summer months. It was really good.
What flavor did you have?
Strawberry banana.
I had mango peach or something not too long ago, and I didn't like it.
Really? Okay, well, try strawberry banana because I liked it.
Yeah, what did it taste like? Was it really sugary?
Not really, because I don't like those. Because Tim's, in my opinion, the one that I tried at Tim's, maybe they've changed it since. I had like a strawberry raspberry one there. It was so sugary and so sweet. And they said that it was real fruit, but it almost tasted like it wasn't. You know those kind? This McDonald's one actually tasted like you blended up. You know when you get frozen fruit in a bag? It felt like you blended that up. It was actually really good.
So was it thick or thinner?
It was a medium. It wasn't too thick and it wasn't too thin.
Okay, Ryan, what are we talking about?
We're going to talk about how our generation, the millennial generation, isn't having sex. So
they're not having sex.
Like, they're having sex, but the numbers are in, and basically they're having less sex than ever. Sorry, they're having less sex than any other cohort of humans that have ever lived. And this is according to an article that was in the National Post called Why Millennials Aren't Having Sex. And it was based on a podcast episode by Tristan Hopper, and it tackles sex lives of millennials. So we're going to talk about the different things that he actually was talking about with why he thinks millennials aren't having sex.
So this episode is about sex and the lack thereof in the millennial generation.
Exactly.
Anyone that is listening, give us a private DM. We won't share your info. Are you having a lot of sex? Are you a single person that is having a lot of sex? Or are you in a relationship not having a lot of sex?
So just start DMing us about your sex lives. That sounds great.
You know what? Sex is such a taboo conversation, and I feel, this is my own personal thought, but when music videos and music itself started becoming very raunchy and very R-rated, for lack of better terms, we as a society immediately pulled back from talking about it because it became so sexualized and slightly inappropriate. Whereas if maybe we had eased into it, I mean, 1 minute we were watching, I don't even know a good example off the top of my head, and then the next minute we're watching Durgy by Christina Aguilera grind herself in barely any clothing.
That was a pretty good music video.
I love that. I love
Christina.
Christina.
It's a good song, and that's a good
Britney
album.
Spears, I'm a Slave for You. It went
Britney.
from really not much to everything. So we refrained from talking about it, became scared of the conversation. You would come across as slutty if you engaged in that. It's time to start talking about sex again.
You know what? That's a really good point. Before we jump into like the different reasons that are mentioned in this article, that's a really good point, because do you think that maybe, because we're going to add our little Katie Jones and Ryan insight into this, do you think that maybe people are having less sex because it was so pushed on us? Like, I feel like growing up, we were a generation that like sex was all around us all the time.
Sells.
Like the images, and remember they had all these documentaries about what is going on with the world. Sex sells, like everything. Blah blah blah.
We were the generation of sex selling.
But meanwhile, we're the generation, according to this, that's having the least amount of sex.
But you know what? Yeah, I think there is a correlation there. I think there is linkage, because
like, were we oversaturated with it? Is
absolutely.
my question to you.
Think about it. You hear the strictest parents have the craziest kids. You know, when you enforce a certain ideology or anything along those lines on a group or an individual, a lot of time retaliation comes from that.
Interesting.
So we were, music videos of half-naked women singing about sex. Like I said before, Britney Spears, when she was at the prime of her career, made a song, I'm a Slave for You. And
Such
if you
a good
watch
song.
it's a great song. But at 9 years old, it might be a little detrimental. The whole music video is her in a bar with no AC, so they're sweating, which, like, maybe you don't realize it at that age, but when you look back on it,
Yeah.
which obviously speaks to a certain amount of class. If you're at a place that can't even afford AC, and a bunch of
grungy. She was hipster before hipster was even a thing.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I call her hipster.
Well, like a dive bar. Isn't that a dive bar kind of grungy? No.
Yeah, but I wouldn't call that hipster. But besides the fact she has like 9 or 10 men sweating on her as she grinds, singing "I'm a Slave for You," and I like Britney Spears.
Sounds like my Saturday night.
Yeah, mine too. But no, I mean, I think it was a very different time for music. Women became very, very sexual and sang about it.
Yeah.
And now we still have it. I mean, we have the Iggy Azaleas and the Cardi B's and the Nicki Minaj's that are all about literally their ass. Like, if I'm not even trying to sound like an old fart here. Literally, their whole thing is, look how big my ass is. Look how much I can shake it. Look how much money I have made based on how big my ass is and how much I can shake it. I'm not trying to sound like my, God rest his soul, kind of grumpy British grandfather, but at the root of it, that is what it has become. Anyways.
Can I just cheers you?
Yeah.
Cheers.
No, you gotta hit the top of it.
Oh. Oh.
There you go.
But Katie, this goes back to the whole idea of, yes, what you're saying is true, that and it probably happened in our parents' generation too. There's a lot of artists out there in the mainstream media that are sexualizing themselves to sell records or to sell products or whatever. However, clearly there isn't a correlation because, again, our generation, according to this, is having the least amount of sex. So it almost makes me wonder, do you feel, and I kind of asked you this before, but I'm really wondering specifically what your thoughts are on this. Do you think that it was so shoved in our face and so oversaturated with sex all the time that we almost became immune to it in a way?
Yes, I think
not immune to sex, but just the desire and it almost seems like a fantasy to us. I don't know if I'm explaining it right.
No, I do understand what you're saying, and I do agree with you. It became so normalized.
Yes.
That it was almost non-desirable.
That's what I'm saying. Yes.
Yeah, you can kind of get it anywhere, really.
A few clicks away.
Yeah.
I mean, you can watch it a few clicks away, whatever you want.
Anytime you have something at the tip of your fingers, we often want it less, right?
Interesting.
If you can have a bad analogy, but I'll throw it out anyways. If you have the money or your parents have the money to get you a car, you probably don't want one as much as someone that's working their butt off, minimum wage, putting in doubles, putting in extra money to buy that car because they have to work for it. It's like they always say, I don't know if this is appropriate for a podcast, but I'll say it anyways. And this is such a just generalization. I'm not even saying I agree with it, but they say the prettiest girls are the worst lays.
Really? Is that a thing?
That is an expression. Well, not an expression, but
why is that?
Because if you're so hot, let's just say as a woman, you're so good looking.
Yeah.
Maybe you have the best body, the nicest eyes, beautiful hair, you dress incredibly well.
Yeah.
You don't need to be amazing in bed. You'll get there anyways. It is the slightly maybe chubbier girls or the less attractive girls or whatever that can't just get it whenever they want. I know we're talking about sex and we're really not trying to be inappropriate. It's just, it's truthful. The prettiest girl at the party doesn't have to work to have friends. It's the one that doesn't go noticed right away or maybe is noticed for not being noticeable. That I bet you she's probably the funniest person and the wildest in bed.
But you know what? Okay, this is confusing to me though, Katie. And I'm glad that we're having this discussion. If that's the case, if according to this scenario where you said you're generalizing, if someone is less attractive and they have less sex, how does it make sense that they would be even better at it if they're having less practice? Do you know what I mean?
No.
Just explain that to me.
Okay, well, I understand where you're coming from the practice aspect.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, practice makes perfect. But there just has something to say. That's why you've seen a lot of movies. I know they're movies, but the really beautiful popular people are usually kind of rude.
But I think it's changing. I almost feel like now at least from what I've seen in the younger generation, sometimes the good looking people are the nice ones too. Because I know what you mean. We grew up in a generation where, you're right, in all the movies and all the TV shows, the popular best looking person was also the mean one. I almost think it's changing.
I think it's changing too, and I would hope it is changing.
Yeah, because it's not attractive. How is that attractive to be mean?
Yeah, but we're living in a world, going back to the whole kind of sex discussion. We are living in such a fearful society now, because we know that at any point you could be recorded, Snapchatted, videoed, put on the internet. Nothing is private at all. And I'm not even talking about like celebrities. I'm just talking about your day to day. Let's say you were to get in a fight at a bar.
Yeah.
That's not how it was 30 years ago, where two people have it out at a bar and
it goes viral.
Now you can't do anything that stands out without it going viral.
And then they lose their job, because then all of a sudden people find their LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
And then they find out where they work. And, and sometimes I think that's a good thing, because people have to be accountable.
Absolutely.
However, I think that in a lot of scenarios, you're right, where like people can't make mistakes anymore. We've seen it with celebrities for years, but now the everyday person, you can't make a mistake anymore because you're being recorded.
It's going to go up. It's going to stay there. You know, like everything on the internet, it's never going away.
Yeah.
We are fearful now. And I agree with you. Society and social media forces you to be accountable and hopefully make better decisions based on the fact that whatever you do, you'll most likely be followed for it. But you just can't do anything wrong anymore if you're not okay with accepting the fact that you'll be followed for it or known for it.
Well, it's one Google search away from maybe not getting a job if all of a sudden you're plastered over the internet for something like that. But I mean, I think that we digress a little bit. That could be a whole other topic. I wanted to mention one of the stats that is in this article.
Yes, please tell me.
1/3 of American men, this is according to research published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior, 1/3 of American men 18 to 29 didn't have sex once in all of 2018.
1/3?
1/3 of American men aged 18 to 29 didn't have sex in 2018.
Why though?
Well,
Does it give examples?
We're going to go through some of the theories, because this article in the National Post that's based on an episode of Everything Should Be Better, Tristan Hopper talks about some of his theories, and we're going to discuss our opinions on it, of maybe some of the reasons why. But here's another stat. Nearly 60% of modern day teenagers are staying virgins until they graduate, which is a complete reversal, this is from the article, of the 1990s, when a majority of teenagers had sex by prom night. And remember, that was so pushed in the media. Now the younger generations, they're staying a virgin until they graduate and maybe losing their virginity in university.
Well, also, something that I think about when I hear these stats that are based in America is healthcare, and Southern views are much stronger than they are here. So abortion is obviously not a favored choice of handling the situation.
In some places.
In a lot of places.
And the other thing that goes off of that is, I think people in the States, and probably in Canada too, I mean, I'm going to generalize here, but a lot of people in the States, and here, people are more scared than ever of getting pregnant now because of shows like 16 and Pregnant, Teen Mom, things like that. And they've gone through stats since the show's been airing. The teen pregnancy rate has dropped.
More than half.
I think so, yeah.
No, it has.
And it's one of those...
But you're right about those kind of reality shows that...
Well, it's had an impact.
Well, absolutely does. And you and I are both, fans of that show.
Fans.
Oh, huge fans. I've been watching that show since it aired, so...
Katie even knew, just as a sidetrack, Katie knew of some random series that I'd never heard of. And I feel like I'm one of the biggest reality TV stars, which probably Katie Jones. No. Sorry, fans. Hey, you never know.
World,
you never know.
That could be a good reality show, Ryan's World.
Ooh,
it's like Wayne's World, but
you would maybe be in a couple episodes.
I'd be the producer. I would do voiceovers.
Yeah. Like, did you ever watch Love Island?
Have you had the spicy pierogi pizza from Boston Pizza?
No, but I did have. I think it's called L spicy or something. I forget what it's called, but anyways, I had it and it was pretty good. But again, it was $19 for a small. So we're gonna go to Boston Pizza after we record this episode.
You need to have the spicy pierogi. Oh, we're gonna get one. But
we're digressing so much. But what I was saying is that Katie saw a random season that only aired 2 episodes ever, and then pulled it from the MTV website like a couple years ago?
Months ago? Like months ago, like 7-8 months ago or something.
And Katie knew of this, and I was like, Katie, there's no way. And Katie like Googles it and finds this whole storyline about how this MTV show, what was it called?
It was called Pretty Little Mamas, and now it's Young Moms Club.
Which I watched Young Moms Club, but I didn't know this whole background.
That's why I was. We won't digress much more, but what I was really annoyed when I saw the whole Young Moms Club, because having seen Pretty Little Mamas, I thought, first of all, anyone that hasn't seen Pretty Little Mamas doesn't realize how old this footage is. Anyone that's a reality television viewer understands that the content that they're watching is months old.
Yeah.
Because, it takes that long, right? If you like reality TV, the most current thing you're going to watch is like the reunion, because they'll tape it like 3 weeks before the season finale. But we all understand if I'm watching a reality show, it's from months ago. But yeah, this whole Pretty Little Mamas thing kind of pissed me off, because if those viewers like yourself hadn't seen the original, they wouldn't even know that content they're watching now is months old from a months old show, which means that this stuff that I'm watching is actually almost like 2 years old.
Yeah.
I find that deceitful, and I don't understand why MTV didn't address it.
Well, according to you, though, it was only a couple of scenes that they used, though, in this new season.
It was a lot of them.
Really?
It was
I thought it was only 2 scenes.
It was just the one character that wasn't in Pretty Little Mamas. That stuff is new. But the scene with the one girlfriend's boyfriend getting drunk at the birthday, the scene of the one girl that has a husband, Tally, 2 kids, all those, like, they're 95% of them are reused. And I am a massive MTV fan. I always have been. I've been watching anything from the challenge to Geordie Shore, like represent mtv.co.uk. I didn't understand why they didn't address it. You created a show, you had 2 episodes, they were quite juicy. You disappeared, you pulled them, you said nothing. Yeah. And then like almost a year later, you got Young Moms Club. Like, it was never brought up. Never brought up.
I just love how, like, literally, maybe this is one of the reasons why millennials aren't having sex, is our attention span is so short. We're talking about millennials and sex, and we just went on a rant about reality shows, both of us.
That's so true.
So one of the reasons that they have listed in this article is millennials aren't getting married. Now, at first I was like, what? I thought like people don't have sex once they get married, or have sex less. Do you know what I mean? So they actually say that in the article. They're like, say what you will say about marriage, but say what you will about sex after marriage, but getting married does indeed pack you into a house with someone who you'll probably get bored and have sex with once in a while. And it is kind of true, is like we're pushing marriage even longer, which means we're maybe pushing cohabitating longer, and which means that maybe you're having less sex in general. What do you think about that? I mean, as someone, not to get too personal, but you live with your boyfriend. Do you think that if you didn't live with your boyfriend, you would be intimate as often? Not too personal.
Whatever it is, the Ryan and Katie's banter.
Is this adulthood?
Okay, obviously, if you are not in a private space with your partner as frequently as you could be if you live together, then automatically the amount of intimacy most likely is going to decrease, right?
Yeah,
because you don't have that freedom. My boyfriend and I live in our own home together. It's just us, and it's a home. And so, it's our space. But I think that people have as much sex as they want to. If you want to be intimate with your person, your partner, your one night stand person, or your boyfriend, long term, whatever your situation is, if you want to be with them, you'll make it work. You'll make it happen. Yes, work and commitments and everything can get in the way of certain things, but truthfully, if you want something enough, you'll go and get it.
Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
If you're not having sex with your boyfriend or not having sex with your girlfriend or whatever, there's a reason. You can't blame external factors. Yeah, you don't live together. Okay, you'd make it work if you wanted it. But I do agree. Millennials are living in an age where it's very expensive and not guaranteed.
Yeah, but how does that relate to
I think
millennials
it
and having
makes
sex?
people, maybe there's not the most extreme correlation between that and intimacy, but we spend a lot of money on school, a lot of time to not necessarily get the job we want. Then we have to go and seek other stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's expensive. The cost of living is expensive.
Yeah.
That's why people are having less children now, because it's, unless you are crazy wealthy or you live in certain parts of the country, speaking Canada based, that are much cheaper, it doesn't make sense anymore to live in Toronto and have 4 kids. That's just not feasible.
You know what? That actually ties into the next point in the article about why millennials aren't having as much sex, which is that too many millennials are living with their parents. According to U.S. data, 15% of 25 to 35-year-olds are living with their folks. And that is nearly double the rate of early baby boomers. And that's a really good point, because I've heard of people where they're dating and each person in the relationships live at their parents' place. And I feel like that kind of complicates things, because how can you go over to someone's place and have some fun if, downstairs the mom's making dinner?
Absolutely. That's a pretty big turn off, buzzkill, however you want to put it. But I just think I'm a little bit more of an old soul. Anyone that knows me knows that about myself. And I feel like people... Okay, I could be so wrong, but I'm going to say it anyways. I feel like the generation that came before us...
Yeah.
I could be totally wrong when I say this. And to be honest, this isn't even an educated opinion. This is just something I feel... based on my parents and the people they hang out with that I know. I feel like the generation before us didn't really hesitate. They kind of went for things. There wasn't the social media influence. There wasn't the be an influencer or be really cool on your Instagram. There wasn't any of that. And I feel like they just went for what they wanted. Now I feel like we live in a world where it's more expensive.
Yeah. There's
more damage control you'll have to do if you mess up. That people are going for things that they want in the long run. Which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but like our parents, they wanted to go to that concert. They jumped in a car and they went. For us, you'd book it off months in advance.
Yeah, you're right.
If you couldn't get it, then you would...
try to get a coworker to cover it.
And it was...
Maybe you can't go.
I think we're a lot more responsible now, which isn't a bad thing. But before, like, especially if your parents celebrated the whole hippie years, it was, we're out of here, we're gone. I mean, my mom, her parents went away on vacation for like a week. And when they came home, she had taken their TV and moved out at 18. Like, see you later. That doesn't happen. I'm not saying it doesn't happen ever anymore. I'm really not trying to generalize. We live in a very scared society. With that, I think there's been a lot of progression with technology, healthcare. People get stuff done probably more quicker. But at the same time, we don't just get up and go for what we want on a whim anymore. We have to have a plan and discuss it with others.
Which maybe leads to less random hookups, which then leads to less sex. I see where you're going with this, right?
See?
Okay, fair enough.
I've got a little bit of flow.
Okay, there you go. Now, the next reason is dating apps. And it may not be the reason you'd expect because, dating apps, you think, okay, well, people can meet up even quicker and have that random hookup, which means they're probably having more sex. But one of the things that they mentioned in this article is now people are so focused on appearance and how they look on dating apps that they almost catfish a person, but with their own pictures. They almost catfish the person, and then they show up on the date. They don't look anything like the pictures, and then guess what? Nothing happens after the date, which means less sex. So now people are meeting up with all these people from the dating apps and maybe not hooking up with them because their whole dating profile is one big catfish, one big lie in a way.
And that's the thing. Like, before social media, let's say, you and I were our parents' age, and I said to you, Ryan, I've got this guy I really want you to meet. I think you'd like him. I could just verbally tell you details. Okay, he's got brown hair and he likes soccer, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you meet up with him. Nowadays, you can even, let's go back to Facebook. I know that's even becoming outdated, but you can Find out their name. Find out their cousins. Find out where they go for social things.
You're right.
Where they work.
Yeah.
When did they last?
Yeah.
When did they leave their last job?
Yeah.
If you're one of those like Facebook stalkers, as they say, you can go deeper and deeper. By the time you sit down and have that dinner with that person,
Yeah.
don't you feel like a freaking idiot? You're like, I actually know everything about you.
Yeah. It's so true.
And of course, I don't know everything about you, but instead of just being told by my friend we'd be a good match, I now know what your Aunt Susan looks like. I know when you graduated Western. I know when you first started growing your beard. I know if you do Movember. I know what your dog looks like. Like, what the hell? And so then you are supposed to go on this first date knowing nothing about one another. But when truthfully, there's a good chance both of you have a very good understanding of each other. To me, that's just, I don't know, a recipe for disaster.
Well, yeah, it kind of sets you up for like this weird society where everyone knows everything about you. And, you know, like that show You. Remember that show You that we watched?
Liked that show a lot.
And literally he found out so much about her. And when we're watching it, it's funny because nothing's surprising. Like what we're watching is kind of like, I totally can see how he found out that she goes to yoga on Thursday afternoons or whatever. Because you know what? She probably posted a story about it. Or she probably posted a post about it.
Thursday morning yogas make my whole week. Namaste.
Yeah, there you go. So there's two more things that they said are some of the reasons why millennials aren't having sex. And I just want to mention them to get our opinions on it before we wrap up this episode. No pun intended. Maybe a bit of a pun intended.
Wrap it up.
Wrap it up. You got it. You got it. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what are they?
Constant porn everywhere. So this is one of the things where basically we kind of talked about this, but you know, a few clicks away, you can get whatever you want on the internet, whatever fancies your, you can get whatever you want on the internet if you're having a moment where you're kind of feeling a little bit, you know.
Well, yeah, porn is one click away. You don't have to prove your age. You don't have to.
But you don't have to even meet up with someone to get off. Is that bad to say?
No, but that's the thing.
It's true.
People used to say, oh, you know, I mean, there's a million and one ways why you start dating someone, but maybe, you know, I haven't like done that in a while and I'd really like to meet someone. And then you're like, oh, okay, this is getting me excited. You go on somewhere like a porn website, you have an instant release, and then again, that goes in the back burner.
Yes, you're right.
You go down, make dinner, you go to work.
Yeah.
Because you had your instant gratification, whereas social media has changed everything, and technology is never going to stop moving forward. So I'm not going to bag on social media because it's not going anywhere. But at the same time, it's made people a lot less persistent on chasing tangible things. Yeah. You know, like, have you done this before? You're maybe not feeling too good about yourself, so you find yourself on less good-looking people's pages, making yourself feel a bit better, or you really want to eat healthy, so you go to healthy food pages.
No, I don't really do either of those things, but I think people do that.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't really.
Oh my god, I all of a sudden feel like I'm gonna live off avocado. So you go and like look at all these like healthy, you know, like Buzz Tasty or whatever they are videos. You love those videos. And then all of a sudden you got your gratification, and then you go downstairs and get some chips.
We're so different in that way, but I love it to hear another perspective. It's interesting because to tie into this, I know someone that he recently gave up watching porn, and he also gave up, like he still, you know, pleasures himself, but not as often, like just more when the need arises naturally rather than it becoming a habit where it's like an everyday thing or multiple times a day or whatever. And I know of him who's done it, and then I knew someone else that did it, and they said that the experiences in person with someone was so much more gratifying and special
after he stopped watching it as much.
After he stopped watching porn, because then it's almost like you end up having that desire to be intimate with someone because you don't just do it off the internet. It makes it even more special when it actually happens, and it actually makes you interact with people even more, which is totally true. Because nowadays you can just go. It's the same with the dating apps. You can just go on a dating app and swipe. So it's like when I've been off the dating apps before, and I've been in an elevator or somewhere, and there's a cute guy there. It's like I know that I can't just find him on an app later, so I maybe will talk to him instead in person.
You seize the moment.
Yeah. So it kind of ties into that. Now, the final reason that's listed in this article is millennials are super uptight. And the part of this that I loved about it was when they said that, this is what they say, last reasons millennials aren't having sex. They're all super uptight. That's right, I said it. While Generation X was making out to Thriller, we're too busy lecturing someone on Twitter about how The Little Mermaid is problematic.
I couldn't agree with that more.
It's so true.
That basically ties into everything we discussed this episode. Because, we're too busy telling each other that this photo is too provocative and that tweet was too explicit. And, we're too busy telling each other off.
We're too busy getting upset with random people on the internet
like
to go out and flirt.
My boyfriend loves reading the comments because he just thinks it's hilarious. He doesn't write any himself, but reading them, he just thinks, who takes the time to do this?
Yeah.
And then you see like the comment feuds.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's ridiculous
So
is what it is.
Those are the reasons listed in this article. I'm wondering if any of our listeners have other reasons that they'd love to tell us. Feel free to DM us because we don't have all the answers.
I mean, I do.
Oh.
But
all
Ryan's
right.
still getting there.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. If you have any topic ideas or you want to be a guest on the show, or if you just want to chat with us, DM us at Is This Adulthood on Instagram or at ITA_podcast on Twitter. There's been more tweets, Katie Jones,
I wish I officially follow now. But also, this is our 21st episode, which means we are now past the 20th mark, obviously.
Pretty big deal.
It is a big deal. So, let us know what you think about this episode. DM us your personal opinions on millennial and sex, and we will talk to you next week, I guess.
All right. Bye.
Bye.